Today on the show, with the Cowboys' loss, Bo is left licking his wounds. We'll discuss the not a catch.
And Clem from the Clem Report will be dropping by to discuss some of the greatest NBA brawls of all time.
And with John Fox leaving Denver, we're curious about the future of one Peyton Manning. Plus, we'll discuss the rest of the big-time NFL coaching vacancies. It's all coming up on the Sean and Bo Show. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome. It's episode 37 of the Sean and Bo Show. I'm Sean O'Donnell, joined as always by my co-host, Bo Greer. And it's a sad time of the year for us football fans, Bo. We can see it coming. Just a few NFL playoff games left, and then the long, dark period of time where we're forced to care about basketball and baseball and all the rest of the sports.
Yeah, it is the time of the year where we go from where the Pro Bowl doesn't count to we count that as a game. We have 4 games left. College football, playoffs over, championship, locked, wrapped, sewed up. They already gave it out last night.
I hate myself every year for watching the Pro Bowl. I don't know why I do it to myself, but I do.
Because it is just in the neighboring state from us in Arizona this year. A friend of mine proposed, he's like, let's just get in the car and go. And I was thinking, I am a sucker for a good time. Might be on the agenda. We'll see.
And your Cowboys coaching staff is going to be coaching one of the teams. So
because we're free now, I might get lucky and get an autograph or something. We'll see.
I mean, you drink enough Jack Daniels, squint your eyes a little bit, you can pretend the Cowboys are still playing football.
And we're in the Super Bowl stadium.
That's right. Well, the college football championship game was last night, drew absolutely record TV numbers. And apart from me being absolutely floored by what happened in the game, it was a big-time success for college football.
Yeah. Last night was the night for every gentleman that was in the water cooler conversation. And maybe his school or the school he loved passionately was 4th or 5th, and they just got left out of the BCS National Championship. Last night was your night to go back to those guys and say, hey, number 4 just won that championship.
Yeah, we would have been watching Florida State and Alabama had it not been for the playoffs.
And what a horrible game that would have been.
Mm-hmm.
And because both of those teams proved that they could beat themselves. And you don't want that in a championship game because that's what the NFL, with the way their playoff system's set up, Cowboys pretty much beat themselves a week ago, and they're out of it. Packers get to move on. Denver beat themselves. Indianapolis seized opportunities. They get to move on. And we see that for the first time in the college football national championship. And I believe with what they were exposed to, that's the committee and the powers that be with the NCAA, they're sitting back and they're saying, man, that whooping that TCU dished out, the level of play that Baylor displayed, they would have been nice to see in that playoff also. So 6 teams is right around the corner.
Yeah, and apart, I was just so wrong about this game. It turns out that pace doesn't matter. If you can't tackle and your lines are just getting bullied out there, it doesn't matter how fast you can call plays. That's exactly what we saw last night. It wasn't even close, really.
Yeah, the past few years we have all kind of been sucked into that warp of where we're like, oh, SEC football, and our eyes are spinning and we look like a bunch of zombies. But we've been awakened to what is the Big Ten. It's physical. They get top 10 recruiting classes just like the SEC and the Pac-12 and the ACC are capable of. And we finally get to see them on that national stage, and they delivered. It was wonderful to see. 3rd-string quarterback at Ohio State, everybody's all wrapped up in that. Doesn't blow me away. Ohio State's the type of university that's going to attract a kid that's going to walk on and could be capable of winning a national title. We were just able to see these kids display this level of talent in a playoff setting, and it was great. I loved it. I know, Sean, we pushed the show back a little bit tonight because you loved it a little bit too much last night.
It's a possibility.
Yeah. You had a little bit more than some steaks while you watched the game. I went with Wingstop. It was easy. My kids were just wanting to watch the game.
You were still hurting from the day before.
Well, yeah.
Right? Let's not lie.
There we go.
You didn't even catch both of the games.
I seen the
Your kids are probably poking you with objects as you lay there drooling on yourself.
They're drawing on me. Yeah.
Well, I mean, really, in terms of my takeaways from the college championship, what a feather in Urban Meyer's cap. I mean, he did something really amazing with that program. And I mean, just in terms of the stock value of a coach, his went way, way up. He wasn't supposed to win, and he did. And those are the sweetest victories.
Yeah. And, he's just waiting on his Aaron Rodgers. That's what that guy's waiting on. Urban Meyer, he had Tim Tebow, he had Alex Smith. He's just waiting on that guy that's going to be the one that goes to the NFL. And right now, people are saying it's Carnell Jones. They say after 3 games, he's ready to go because of the big arm and stepping up in this impossible situation. I think the kid needs to stay in college, although he was the one that you mentioned this back in the spring, I believe, where he was the one that tweeted out about going to class. We had a conversation.
I'm here to play football. What do I got to go to class for?
Yeah, that's the tweet that you always would mention when we're talking about Jameson and the NCAA and paying athletes. So I do think it will be a struggle for him, but just hang around 2 more semesters and you're going to be fine, Carnell. You can get drafted next year. I think he is the starter next year.
And off topic, but speaking of Jameis Winston, I was kind of making fun of how Jameis Winston probably does in class last year when we were laughing about the prospect of Winston returning to school. But I heard he's got like a 3-point something average in engineering.
Wow.
Apparently he's fooling us all. The kid's not dumb.
Yeah. He's
just a little country,
He's one of those math guys. But, that's possibly what it is. You see those genius types, and
let's not go that far.
He may be one of those types. It's like he borders on that, that fringe. And I don't know. That's what I think makes these quarterback. Look at Russell Wilson. Look at Peyton Manning. Look at Tom Brady. They all look like the kind of guys that when you work for some company, whether it be Domino's, H&R Block, Enterprise, Walmart, I don't care, etc., fill in the blank right there. Whenever they send in the guy that gets paid 6-figure salary that's supposed to fix whatever you messed up or whatever you don't care about, that's what they look like. That's what they act like. Like it's the Peyton Manning that wants perfection, that makes a business go from making $200,000 this year to $275,000 next quarter. It's because they are so fine. They fine tune every little piece. And I look at these guys, and I don't know, maybe Andrew Luck in that beard that looks like mice live in it. That's him. He's that guy, and he'd probably have a hard time conforming to those standards at most companies. You think Andrew Luck would be able to shave his beard if he had to deliver pizza?
If Andrew Luck offered to donate that beard to Locks of Love, they would turn it down.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. They don't want that. They'd send it back and be like, stop sending prank mail to us like some frat boy. That thing is horrible. He needs help. It borders on the line of Unabomber meets hobo.
He says that the reason why he grows it, and he's aware that it's a bad look, is because he gets a real bad razor burn, and that with the chin strap is not a good combination. So that's his excuse for it. But use some Nair or something, buddy. Don't make us look at that thing.
Yeah, I think Andrew Luck is the guy that brings the doctor's note for every little thing. He could have a doctor's note. He's giving it to Pagano. Hey, I get real bad chin strap burn.
Well, according to this dude that covers the Cowboys, Marcus Mosher, you and Tony Romo had about the same experience following the game. He notes that Romo met his mother and broke down into tears. Romo was incredibly disappointed.
Yeah, in himself. His inability to get rid of the ball.
Well, it's not Tony Romo's fault that Des Bryant doesn't know the rules of the NFL.
Oh, yeah. It's not that. Sean, we've seen the game. He did good things, and you can't put the entire thing on Tony Romo. Obviously, it's a team game. Dan Bailey missed a field goal. But let's go back. And there's times where you're thinking, don't pump the ball. Stop pumping the ball. He's patting the ball in the pocket. Get rid of it. And bad things would happen. So, I don't know. I'd rather have the guy that maybe throws me 2 picks in that game, 3 picks in that game, but at least I know he's challenging the defensive backs. Sometimes he doesn't do that to my liking.
So let's talk about the big play that nearly broke the internet during that Cowboys game. Of course, the big Des Bryant not a catch. Now, how do you view this? Is this an example? And this sort of seems like the consensus on national sports broadcasting and sports talk that correct interpretation of the rule, but bad rule.
Yeah, look who it's affected: Calvin Johnson, Des Bryant.
Yeah.
Most dynamic players at their position, right? You could argue that these guys are first ballot Hall of Famers right now with what they're doing in their careers.
I'd say so.
So does it surprise you that a rule about catching in a game where we now pass the ball at a rate that we've never seen before in the NFL? It's even growing up in an era of the 80s and 90s where you and I were exposed to the likes of Marino, Elway, Montana. We are in an era now where 24-year-old kids are winning Super Bowls and out tossing them in 3 years.
And you make a good point there. With the, I don't know if I would call it, it's sort of known that the NFL has been doing everything that they can for the offense.
Yeah.
And with that being the case, I mean, you got to think that rule gets changed.
Yes.
They want those big names, the Calvin Johnsons, the Des Bryants of the world, to be the spotlight, the poster boys of the league. You know that's what they want. They want those exciting one-handed grabs that, players like Odell Beckham Jr. are now making.
Well,
And that's a big part of the current NFL brand. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if they reworked that rule, or at the very least, if Roger Goodell could just explain to me what in the hell a football move is, I would be so happy.
I would love to see
I have no idea, and I watch almost every game.
I'd love to see a bunch of guys in suits explain what is a football move.
Is it a dance?
and the football moves that Des Bryant and Megatron are capable of making, Calvin Johnson, they're amazing. It's poetry in motion. We love watching it. That's why we sit there with sausage on our chin and our favorite beer on our lap.
Not sure where you're going with that there.
Well, that's what I do every Sunday. I'm usually eating and drinking while I'm watching the sport. But, it draws us in because these guys are dynamic. And whenever you do those things, it leaves, and I'm talking to my grandmother on the phone, and they're in there, they were yelling about that catch, and I don't understand. And then my father, he's talking along the line, Sean, he's saying things like, well, Bo, why is it that a play can change the outcome of a game in today's football with all the cameras and the technology when you know this is what would have happened 20 years ago, maybe just 15 years ago? Aaron Rodgers would have given us the games that we talk about. I believe the biggest thing that happened in that game was Aaron Rodgers was robbed of one of those heroic fourth quarter drives because my friend, my good buddy, his nickname's Porky. This guy loves the Cowboys. I mean, if he could paint his kids blue and silver, he would.
A guy named Porky loves the Cowboys. I am shocked.
Yeah, there you go. You know what Porky says to me? He's like, Bo, Aaron Rodgers was doing what he pleased all day with us. He's like, wouldn't it have been amazing just to see him go down the field one more time, kick that field goal? Because it would have been another Elway moment. It would have been one of those moments that we grew up watching and what drew us into the football. But now we get referees picking flags up and waving them off one week. And then the next week, we get them giving Mike McCarthy his first overturned challenge of the season, in which would have been drama for Fox on a Sunday when half the country was watching because it is the Dallas Cowboys.
Now, about the play, the Des Bryant catch, no catch in particular, something that's confused me because I've heard conflicting stories, reports on what precisely about the catch or not catch made it not a catch. Was it the fact that the ball hit the ground, or was it the fact that he didn't maintain possession because he tipped it to himself? Like what do you know what part of that? Because I've heard both.
That's my problem, because if you want to say it is like the Calvin Johnson rule, Calvin Johnson used the ball to get up off the ground.
Right.
All Des did was try to get the ball across the pylon. The plane, when he hit the pylon in his effort, trying to do that. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, That's not a football move. He covered some 4.5 yards. I've watched it so many times. When he comes down with the initial catch and the ball still over his head, and he turns and leaps towards the goal line, the man covers so much ground. If I am a referee and I'm someone that observes this game, I'm thinking to myself, oh, that's Des Bryant. That's what he can do.
Sure.
How do you overturn it? You overturn it because that rule allows for interpretation. And you can't tell a bunch of people who watch the NFL way too much as we're falling asleep with sausage on our chin, as I described to you earlier.
Still disturbing me.
You got to
even
see
now.
this. You got to see this image. You got to get this image in your head of me.
What are you doing to these poor people?
But what's going on is they take this away from us. We used to watch these games and we knew what we were looking at, and then the replay came in and it's just takes away what we used to just think was a catch, what was a nice football play. And this interpretation, it has to go.
A new movie coming out, Bo. Jonathan Martin stars in Mall Cop 2. I don't know if you heard about this. Jonathan Martin, who is, of course, at the center of that Richie Incognito bullying scandal with the Dolphins, came to an aid of a security guard at a Versace store. Now, you and I were both wondering what the heck Jonathan Martin was doing near a Versace store because nothing in that store fits the man.
Yeah.
But apparently what happened was Jonathan Martin witnessed this guy shoplifting. Then some sort of scuffle broke out between him and the security officer. The guy was bigger than the security officer, so Jonathan Martin comes to his aid, punches the guy 5 to 8 times, knocks him down.
Yeah. Well, Jonathan Martin, obviously, we paid attention to the scandal. We talked about it here on the show. What went on in the locker room, the things that were said. He had parents that had some money. I believe one of them was a physician or a doctor of some sort. And
I thought they were lawyers.
Or lawyers, that's what it was.
Yeah.
They're lawyers. And I'm sorry. Apologize, Martin family. Don't come after me. You are lawyers, attorneys. Great ones, probably.
I'm sure.
Really good. But, he was probably educated. He's like, Mom, how do kids in the ghetto get this stuff? Well, because somebody steals it and then they get it off a corner. And my man was watching and he took it off. Thanks a lot, buddy. I'm not going to be able to go buy my wife some Versace down at the local corner store later on after we get done with the show. Golly.
Well, he said it was just like an instant reaction. Quote, I didn't even think. I just reacted. It wasn't until later when my friend said he could have had a gun.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it. I just wanted to help.
Oh, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. I think this just shows, because I've worked retail. Have you ever worked retail?
Oh, yeah.
What do they tell you? That same reason. Don't go over there trying to break up things, because if you get shot, we don't have any money.
Can he get sued for this?
That's what I'm saying, man. You got to be careful nowadays. What the guy says he assaulted him. And you can say the guy assaulted him.
An NFL player, too.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Well, at least he has his parents, so he already has representation.
And he probably already knows his legal rights. They schooled him on those kind of things.
Well, this story was all over the place. Pretty incredible tale here. Former fullback from the Dolphins, ironic, by the way, Rob Conrad, was out fishing off the coast of South Florida alone, which is a big no-no. If you're a fisherman, that's not something you do. And he fell off his boat. Boat keeps going, and he's stuck. He's in the middle of nowhere. And, he's got 2 daughters, so he does what, most people in that situation would do, is fight for his damn life. Mm-hmm. And that entailed swimming some 9 miles to finally get to shore. He was saying, I heard him talking about it, that a shark was circling him. Mm-hmm. How damn scary would that be?
Yeah, I mean, that is just intense. It's like one of those made-for-TV movies right there. I would watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably going to happen at some point.
Discovery Channel will put him on.
But, like I heard some people...
Except it'll be like a long lost like great white that we haven't seen for 1,000 years. It's the size of a Buick.
And a mermaid will be in it, too.
Yes, exactly.
But, a lot of people have kind of doubted his story. People have chimed in saying, oh, I do triathlons. There's no damn way somebody could just swim 9 miles. But to that, I would say it's not like the guy was in full sprint mode, like Michael Phelps in a pool. You know, he's swimming with the current. He's probably like doggy paddling and that sort of stuff. I don't find it too outlandish that a former world-class athlete could do something like this, particularly when he has all that adrenaline coursing through his system, thinking about his children, etc. You
could probably get on that National Oceanic website and find out what the currents exactly were that night.
Yeah.
And explain why that man was able to ride a wave all the way into shore.
I actually have a friend who I fish with a lot that's actually rescued somebody that a similar situation like this happened. They were fishing all day, and my friends kind of push the boundaries. They stay out until it's dark. Okay, so it's dark. They finally decide they're going to give it. Call it a day and bring the boat back to the dock. And as they're motoring back across this big lake, my friend sees something like bobbing in the water, and they're like, well, "What the heck is that?" You know, it's hundreds of yards away. Yeah. It's just on the horizon. They see like splashing. They're like, "What the heck?" So they drive their boat over, and it's this like old retiree that was out fishing by himself. Yep. Dropped his hat into the water, tried to grab the hat while the boat is still idling or in drive, fell out. No one's around. Everybody had already gotten off the water. And they said that 10 minutes later, this guy would have drowned. He was spent. He had already been, not very good swimmer. I think he might have even been intoxicated. Mm-hmm. So it happens a lot with boats. That's, it's like I was saying, you just don't go out on a big body of water by yourself like that because all kinds of crap can happen.
I remember watching this special. It was talking about boats and boaters that had vanished, how many boats come rolling into some coast somewhere without any passengers on board. And exactly what you're talking about. One person falls in, somebody else tries to rescue them, the boat idles on by, and then they're just stranded, they drown, never find them again. You got to be smarter, and I pray that we don't hear any other boating accidents about this man. And if he's looking for a fishing buddy, I'm pretty sure he can afford a few.
That's why, like on modern boats, I don't know if you've seen like a real modern boat, but they have these like bracelets that you wear that has a little safety switch that goes into like the console near the ignition. And the only way you can start the boat is if it's engaged. If that little thing pops out, it's a kill switch. Ah. And I mean, a lot of people kind of hack them, mod them a little bit so that they don't have to wear that stupid thing all day, especially if you're fishing and you need your arms and stuff. But that's why boats have those. Well, last night there was a bit of a fracas between Kevin Garnett and Dwight Howard, and it kind of made me take a trip down memory lane, think about some of the best NBA brawls of all time. So coming up, our friend Clem from the Clem Report is going to join us to discuss that. Also later in the show, is Peyton Manning done? It's all coming up on the Sean and Bo Show. Hey, it's Sean. Thank you very much for listening to the Sean and Bo Show. If you could do us a big favor, we need you to subscribe to us on iTunes. Even if you go to seanandboshow.podomatic.com to listen to our new episodes or perhaps catch up on episodes you've missed, it would help us out greatly if you subscribed on iTunes, rated the show, and commented on it. It's really integral in helping us spread the show to a new audience. So again, please subscribe, search on iTunes for the Sean and Bo Show.
Welcome back to the Sean and Bo Show. And if you're just joining us with this segment, you missed a lot of great stuff. Obviously, we're giving out all of our condolences because my Cowboys, they passed away this weekend.
Also, something incredibly disturbing about sausages on chins. I'm still reeling from that comment from you, Bo.
Yeah, that's a great one. And, this segment here, I just want to definitely start this off with saying, last night I saw something, Sean, that just made me feel that good old Mr. Dwight Howard, he cannot make friends.
No, nobody likes the man.
Nobody likes him. I bet people in his family want to fight him.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, and last night, Mr. Kevin Garnett, he was going to give him some of that old man.
Yeah.
And they broke it up in time.
Yeah, what happened was, Kevin Garnett didn't appreciate the way that Dwight Howard was, swatting at him or whatever. So he threw a ball, and then it wasn't so much as of a headbutt as like a head push.
It was physical.
You're not going to see that move in MMA anytime soon. But, it got me thinking, Bo, about the history of NBA fights. This is a sport that's not typically dominated by giant, tough guys like the NFL, the NHL. And who better to bring in to discuss this than our friend Clem from the Clem Report. You can check him out at theclemreport.com, follow him on Twitter at @theclemreport, and he covers the Knicks for Barstool Sports New York. Clem, thank you very much for joining us. I'm sure you saw the interaction last night, correct?
Yes. What's up, Bo? What's up, Sean? I sure did see it last night. I tweeted it out, and I was giggling like a little schoolgirl watching those two phonies go at it with each other.
Yeah, I mean, who do you hate worse in that interaction there? I don't really think either one of them's too tough a guy. I mean, we know Dwight Howard's soft as a marshmallow, but Kevin Garnett sort of seems like one of these guys that talks the talk, but I don't really know how he would react in a real brawl.
This is how you know Dwight Howard's soft, like you said. Kevin Garnett tried to fight him because that guy only fights the big European goofy guys or the little point guards. He never fights anyone with a little bit of brawn behind him. So that's how you know Dwight's soft. If KG will fight you, you're soft. Bottom line.
So we know, I would say that the most famous violent outburst in the history of the league is probably the Malice at the Palace. But in your mind, what were some of the most memorable fights in the NBA history?
The Malice at the Palace, that took fights to another level. I'm a Knicks fan, like you said. Excuse me. I'm a diehard Knicks fan, so I went through a lot of that stuff in the 90s between the Knicks and the Bulls, the Pacers, and the Heat. I think the P.J. Brown versus Charlie Ward fight is one of the biggest ones because the Knicks got suspended and there was all those weird rules with the fighting rules and the thing leaving the bench. So that became a rule that still to this day they try to enforce when they can. The other one for me personally was Derek Harper against JoJo English, which is going back again to the early 90s. This is back when the NBA and NBC music was going on, and we were all just loving the NBA more than anything in the world. Those are two of the bigger fights that I can remember. And then again, I don't know. Maybe it's just in New York, we're always just angry like people perceive us to be, but we're always in fights because the Chris Childs fight, YouTube it, Chris Childs and Kobe went nose to nose, and he hits Kobe with like a two-piece before Kobe even knows what's going on. And that's when I was like, I don't like Chris Childs as a player, but I would take him on my team in a minute if I was going.
Yeah, I remember that. He goes to the chin, and then the second shot's kind of to the neck. Solid technique.
Yeah.
Well,
so those are those, and then obviously, I mean, the Bad Boys. That fight, they fought everybody, and then Larry Bird versus Dr. J. YouTube that as well. There's some craziness going on.
Yeah. Speaking of the Bad Boys, I have a feeling that if Bill Laimbeer wasn't getting into fights on the floor of a basketball court, he would be in your neighborhood bar doing the exact same thing.
100%.
One of my favorite fights, and I'm positive you saw this one, Clem. I think it was even a preseason game. It wasn't even during the actual season, but your boy Charles Oakley versus Barkley. Do you remember that? He kind of almost suplexed him, and then they swung on each other, and it was over. But good display of strength.
Oh yeah, that was great. I think that they've had beef forever. I think Oakley doesn't respect Barkley in terms of being a tough guy, and Barkley's just a big mouth. He's kind of a clown in a funny way, but Charles Oakley don't mess around. And they say most of the times if you're getting into the fight in the NBA, it's either over a woman or a gambling debt. So I don't know which one of those guys have between them, but I think Charles Oakley just looks at this guy like, get out of my face.
Well, sitting here, Clem, listening to you guys kind of rattle on about these NBA fights, I can't help but think in my head, who is the tough guy? Oakley was mentioned. I think of him as a tough guy when I think of NBA. Shaq, I don't know if he was a softie, a clown himself. He liked to joke. I don't know. Larry Johnson, he was a tough guy. Who do you think if we had an MMA match, maybe we get 20 guys from the NBA, past, present, who do you think takes it?
Well, I'm going to put my boy Oak number one for a few reasons. One, he's my favorite human in the world. Basically, I've never met the guy in my life. He followed me
Little
on Twitter.
bias.
It's probably the best moment of my life. Just don't tell my wife I told you.
Nice.
Another guy, Anthony Mason, again with those Knicks. You know, I'll include the Davis brothers from the mid '90s Pacers, even though they
forgot
weren't
about
brothers.
them.
Bill Laimbeer, like we said, Boogie Cousins. Now, if you want to go, you know, with a guy who's currently playing, Boogie Cousins, Zach Randolph, another just you know massive dude. And let me give you the sleeper. And I know, Sean, you'll appreciate this. Muggsy Bogues. And you say, Muggsy Bogues? Clem, why Muggsy Bogues? Well, all these guys are like 7 feet tall. If any of you ever played GoldenEye, Oddjob was impossible to kill, right? Because he was so small. He
That
was grabbing
that
your
was such a cheat move whenever anybody would pick Oddjob, man. That was
Whoever was the
infuriating.
programmer that put him on the game, I just want to slap him. That just ruined a lot of good moments with my friends.
I
A lot
think
of fights.
I might have actually gotten into a physical fight over Oddjob.
That's what I'm
in that damn game.
saying. A lot of kids fought in the backyard because of Oddjob. You can't get Oddjob. You're not the greatest.
Oddjob was like the Michael Vick, Madden, and
Yeah.
Bo Jackson of Oakland, you know, the Tecmo Bowl. You know what I mean? So he was like an unfair character. But yeah, Muggsy Bogues is like he could be like the Oddjob of this entire MMA, where everyone just can't catch him, and he's just, you know, putting people in ankle locks, tapping them out.
Well, you make an excellent point because, as we all know, when it comes to a fight, there's the physical component and then there's the mental component. And, you know, while most NBA players are obviously very tall, and some of them these days even pretty muscular, like Dwight Howard, that doesn't account for the edge, the heart, the fury that you need to succeed in a fight. So in terms of who I wouldn't want to fight, current or former NBA players, I've got a few that might surprise you, Clem. Of course, we got Ron Artest, you know, the guys from Queensbridge. That should tell you enough right there. Then we saw what he did at the Malice of the Palace.
He was a part of
We
it.
see the crazy-ass panda shoes he's rocking these days. I am not fighting that man, okay, obviously. We mentioned Charles Oakley. We mentioned Bill Laimbeer. How about Tim Duncan? Okay, hear me out on this one. It's always the quiet ones you got to watch out for, right?
Okay.
And on top of that, the dude collects swords. That's a scary combination. You know, he might try to escalate the fight. You know, all of a sudden, some ninja throwing stars might come out of his pocket or something. You just don't know what the hell he's going to do.
Yeah.
And he's like a swimmer too. And never trust someone who spends that much time in the water. Just trust me. There's something off about people who swim for like competitively for a living. They're just a little off. Look at Michael Phelps and everything he's going through.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, how about these two? This is sort of along the same lines as my Duncan pick, but extremely different personality-wise. But again, this is the type of cat that I would not be surprised at all if in the middle of a fight he produced like a razor blade from under his tongue, and that is Delonte West.
Okay. I like
Okay,
that.
I might take Delonte West on a one-on-one fight, but my crew is not fighting his crew if he's in the room because I don't know what the hell he's going to
Okay,
do.
so there's one man's name that hasn't been mentioned. I've been sitting there just waiting, and that's Zoe.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I would not want to fight that brother. He could out-stamina you. He's long. He seems like he's a pretty smart guy. He could mess you up. Wouldn't want to fight him. Lonzo Mourning. What, Heat, Hornets. Where else did he play in his career?
He was with the Nets for a minute, right?
He got around. He did. He got around for a little bit.
We're joined by Clem from The Clem Report, theclemreport.com, on Twitter at The Clem Report, and you can check his writing out at Barstool Sports New York. Another guy that you wouldn't think is super intimidating, but I give this guy the edge for just being an absolute nut job in a fight, Steve Nash. Okay, not intimidating. You know, you're not going to cross the street and walk on the other sidewalk as you see Steve Nash
He's
coming.
from France, right?
Canada.
Or Canada?
Yeah.
He doesn't know any parkour.
Yeah, okay, but he's the kind of guy that I could see like punching himself in the face before a fight, or like cutting himself. He'll get inside your head. He probably fights dirty.
He's a goon. He's a hockey goon. That's a great call. Steve Nash, anyone from Canada. If you told me guys who I didn't even think were good fighters were from Canada, if you told me Dwight Howard's from Canada, I'd be like, oh, he's actually a tough guy. And he's probably really nice too. But that's not the case.
Okay, in terms of worst NBA potential fighters, this is a tough category for me to call because
There's some softies out there.
There's a lot of softies. There's a lot of 7 foot plus guys that have no muscle mass whatsoever. But it came down to two names for who probably would be the easiest in a fight to beat. Again, I just can't call it. This is kind of a tie. Sean Kemp. Okay, hear me out. I think that when that back leg plants, it's going to snap. I don't even think you're going to have to hit the guy. There's just not enough meat there. And how about Reggie Miller?
No.
To me, he just seems like he's too nice.
Son of a military guy.
Oh, that's right.
And had to fight his sister to survive. And I'm going to tell you something about that. I had an older sister that was athletically gifted too. It is no picnic. I'm sorry. My sister could have fought MMA when she was like 14. I'm serious.
Who do you have for biggest softie in the league currently, Clem?
This guy, he's like, I think he has a self-destruct button on him. So the only reason I wouldn't want to fight him is because if I hit it, he might explode because he's that fragile. Vince Carter, Vinsanity, the guy always is on the ground wincing in pain no matter what. So I feel like if you just looked at him hard, he'd tap out, no problem at all.
Yeah, you're kind of fighting an old man at that point, too. You have nothing to gain. It's not going to look good if you win anyway.
Yeah, you can't beat up a guy. Uncle Carter gives out cars, don't you hear? Did you hear the word in the street? He's dropping cars off to people.
There's one dude I wouldn't want to fight, and the funny thing is he's soft, and I think I could take him. But the answer is Tony Parker, because then I know he'd steal my girl, because that's just what he does.
Yeah.
Remember when he hooked up with Brent Barry's wife or something like that, and all stuff went down? So I love my wife. I don't want to lose her to some French guy like Tony Parker.
He might not make you cry physically, but emotionally, he'll get that revenge.
He probably knows parkour.
Maybe. I could see him
And
doing it.
I will say the one overrated guy, and as a Knicks fan, I hate to say this, but Melo's from Baltimore. You think he'd be this tough guy. You always hear how strong he is.
No.
But if you remember that Denver fight, when he was on Denver against the Knicks, and he threw the punch and then moonwalked all the way back to half court, I'm like, come on, man. I'd expect more out of him. So that's kind of the guy who I think might be a little overrated in everyone's book.
You know what's interesting to me is like, the guy is such a specimen, but you really never hear about anybody being afraid of LeBron James.
Nobody mess with LeBron. LeBron came from Cleveland, man. That dude knows how to throw hands.
He's built like a gorilla, but it's not like people are
hands.
scared of the guy.
That guy knows how to throw hands. Like I was about ready to say about what Clem was getting at with our man Anthony. He doesn't run with the type of crew, nor I can imagine living in New York, because I don't see YouTube videos and rappers with him hanging out in the park taking jump shots in the background with an entourage. So I don't think he has that type of street cred, nor do I think he was running a park or running a set where he's from. But LeBron, that's the type of brother that when he goes to the park, 800 people show up and a barbecue pops out and nobody gets shot at. And the city police chief can't even figure out how he does that. So that's the way I think LeBron can throw hands. He has some respect. Single mom, raised in the projects. He had to play basketball where his mom could see him from the window. Let me tell you something. That's just like that movie with Jesus Shuttlesworth. Whenever his mom yelled LeBron from that window, that brother had to look at everybody like, you better not say anything. If you say one thing to me, we're going to fight right now. So, yeah, that brother can fight.
Correction about something I said a minute ago. I did not mean Sean Kemp. You're probably wondering what the hell I was talking about. I meant Sean Bradley.
Oh.
I'm telling you, that guy plants that leg, it's snapping like Anderson Silva's.
Sean Bradley.
Yeah, no, Sean Kemp, he's probably on the other list. He's a tough dude.
Yeah, but he's big now. His leg might be going just because of the weight, just collapsing on him right now. He was a big boy last I saw of Sean Kemp. So,
well, and the last time you were here, you laid us out with some great information. I had to go immediately after the show, and I picked up a box of the Stand and Stuff nacho shells from, I believe, Old El Paso. Is that who makes it?
Yep.
Though, Clem, let me tell you something. Those things were glorious. Kids loved them. Family loved them. They will be making another appearance at the Super Bowl party, I must say. You have to journey by the house, Sean, and get you some stand-up nacho taco shells.
I'm intrigued by these, and I can't believe it took them so long to unleash them as a standalone product to the public. I think that behind closed doors, Clem, there might have been some conspiracy business going on. I think the CEO of Taco Bell was in on it. He didn't want us to be able to get those in stores. They had the market cornered. They had a monopoly. So I don't know what kind of money exchanged hands there, but foul play.
I was talking about doing that in probably like 95. remember the first time, like, I thought, oh, Dorito, taco shell, like, I should have Cool Ranch flavors by now. I mean, I should be able to go to a specific aisle, and there's like 17 flavors of taco shells. What's going on over there, food people? We need to get on that.
Yeah, like you guys said, man, it's like they give you just a hit and then you just come back fiending for more. But now we can just take care of it all in our own home. We got Taco Tuesdays. Oh, it's a glorious thing.
Clem, I could go on and on. Obviously, I'm a 300-pound man, played offensive line in college, and I still love to eat. Well, one thing that my family loves, my wife would make that rainbow chip party cake. Betty Crocker just pulled it away. They just took it away. Like, there were people going to the headquarters, standing outside. That's how deep this runs. Rainbow party chip cake. You can't find it anymore. There's knockoff brands, but not the real Betty Crocker one.
It was probably irradiated or something. You're probably eating some uranium, though.
Wait, they got like that's the funfetti and everything. Don't they got that
Well,
by
see,
Pillsbury, or is that just not the same?
Funfetti is Pillsbury, but it is not even close. You got to look it up on the internet. There's whole blogs dedicated to this stuff. I'm telling you, there's some sort of like food cartel out there that right when they get my blood sugar level to where I want it, they pull it away from me. So it's like crack.
Evil.
Yeah, it's your wife. Your wife's like, listen, I need this guy around for another 30 years. You guys got to take this off the shelf,
Get
man.
it out of here. Walmart, you're killing them. Kroger, stop.
For important discussions like this and also sports, check him out, theclemreport.com. Follow him on Twitter. He's a great follow there as well. Clem, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Hey, thanks for having me, fellas. Love listening, and keep up the great work.
Awesome, Clem. Thank you very much, man. Well, I was thinking that this wasn't the only fight that almost happened over the weekend. Steve Smith, who we know is a very fiery competitor, wanted to throw some bows with a former teammate. Bo, did you see this story?
Yeah. It was Jermaine Wiggins. He's now a Boston radio personality. I imagine he comments on everything Patriots, Red Sox, and whatever else is happening in the area. He played with Steve Smith at the Panthers. He was a tight end. This is a big fella. This is not a normal guy that's walking around looking like maybe Chris Collinsworth or Troy Aikman in the booth. This guy's pretty thick. And this is the best part, Sean, had his family with him. He had his wife and his 2 kids with him behind the scenes in the bottom of the tunnel in Foxborough.
In the bowels of the stadium.
Yeah, in the bowels of the stadium. Yeah, there you go. And Steve Smith calls him out because 4 or 5 months ago, whenever this happened, he talked about him being a bully.
Well, hey, way to show him, Steve Smith. You call me a bully? I'm going to fight you. What?
We're going to fight you right here after this game with all this press around. Police are trying to separate us. People compared it to the Kevin Garnett, Dwight Howard incident because, obviously there's no cell phone footage or cameras of this. They said that the security and staff members from the team were in between the two, and they were jostling, and they said it looked just like this whole incident. And the only thing that's different is this one took place with wives, kids, staff members, family, whatever.
And that's an important part of the whole story, what led up to this, because, like, it was pretty much calm at first until Steve Smith, like, swore in front of his little kids.
Yeah.
And you've got kids, that's a reason to go right there.
Oh, yeah, that's one of the rules, man. I've been at restaurants, and there's always some group of young kids that are out eating at the same restaurant, and it's just F this, F that. And I'm like, all right, we got to have a talk. This has got to stop. 3-year-old's over there, and he's wanting to say everything you're saying. No, been there.
Now, what I thought was interesting about this Steve Smith fight was that, like, Steve Smith, of course, he's in shape. He's got guns on him, but he's not like a huge guy or anything. I think he was like massively outgunned in this fight, but he was still going after him. So, Steve Smith, man, talking about people you don't want to fight or at least get on their bad side. Steve Smith might not beat you in a fight, but he's going to insult you so well that they're probably going to make T-shirts about it.
Oh, yeah. University of Utah, they're probably waiting for him to retire so they can hire him as a strength coordinator. Like, can you come yell at these guys for us, Steve?
I don't know how he would do back in the state of Utah after all these years.
You know what? It's funny you say that, but for guys like Steve, it might just be the place he needs to be.
Yeah, it's possible. Well, I guess this is the all fight segment because I have an update on a story we touched on last week. John Jones entering rehab, Bo. You remember this?
No bone dust.
Apparently, the rehab went awesome because he was only in there for a day.
Wow, that rehab facility is going to win every award possible that can be given to a rehab facility.
Yeah, I don't know how all this went down, but Greg Howard reported that he was only in the rehab facility for a day. People close to John Jones are worried about him. I guess when he got popped for this failed drug test, he kind of tried to frame it to his family that, oh, this is just a one-time thing, blah, blah, blah. But according to one of his friends, quote, I think he has a problem. He doesn't have the right people around him. So you hate to see this to a fighter or any athlete in the prime of their career when they have a distraction like this, because it's not going to end well. It's either going to shorten their career or they're going to get shot or, or die from an overdose. Nothing good can come of it. So
I've always wondered what it's like to be one of those people that descend on athletes like this. Like, you wonder, Sean, who they are, the sharks that are just out there lurking in the water because they smell the blood. They're like, this guy's got $150 million. He's got a coke habit, and we're going after him. It's just going to be free for all. And for the John Bones camp to keep him focused on trying to make the money that you thought he was going to make before you found out he was a cokehead.
Yeah, and it's the type of situation where, like, loan sharks and that sort of type of people, once they find out you have a problem like that, they're going to try to get you to do something for them, fix a fight, something. So I wonder if Dana White is going to let him fight or make him go back into rehab or what the future of this will be.
Well, I always think the high idiots are the ones that are like, oh, so I give you $20 million. You start a real estate investment company. And in 10 years, I'm going to make $5 million a year for 30 more years. Yep, that's it. Sign right here. Give me the check. It's that easy. You're rich. It takes money to make money. I always think those conversations are with some guy that spends a day in rehab and doesn't have the ability to admit he has a drug problem. Yeah. So like I said, the sharks are coming. I don't care if they went to Wichita State Community College or Harvard. They all come after guys like John Bones Jones, and we'll hear about the Lenny Dykstra story in 20 years,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, coming up on the show, is Peyton Manning going to retire? We'll talk about that, as well as going over all the big-time NFL coaching moves, and we'll take a look at the conference championships coming up this weekend. It's all coming up on the Sean and Bo Show.
Hey, loyal listeners, this is Bo of the Sean and Bo Show, and I just want to remind you, follow us on Twitter at Sean and Bo Show, and make sure you send us some emails. We definitely want to get contact for you and feedback just to know what you're feeling or see what's going on out there in the sports world. Again, that is at seanandboshow@gmail.com, and follow us again on Twitter at Sean and Bo Show.
Welcome back to the show, Bo. There are tons of coaching jobs, people getting fired, other teams looking for a new coach. It's dizzying at this time of year. There's just so many moves going on. But the Cowboys have apparently made a decision about the future of their team, Bo.
Yeah, it's to no surprise. Jason Garrett won the NFC East this year. He took them to the playoffs, got that elusive playoff win and that proverbial monkey off of Tony Romo's back in December, with him coming through in some big ways for him at the end of the season. He's going to be locked in. We have him for 5 seasons. Jason Garrett's a young guy. If he is successful, let's look to finally change as a Cowboys fan. Let's look to change what we've been of late, and that's coach after coach, after regime change after regime change with our man who started it off, who's now at Fox. We rubbed him so wrong that he doesn't even want to coach anymore, Jimmy Johnson. He's just out of coaching. That man's on TV for the rest of his life. And then everybody else in between, it just was never a situation with Barry Switzer to the tuna. They were never guys that you felt were going to be around or they were going to be the future of your franchise. And we have that with Jason Garrett, and I'm happy. I'm finally satisfied.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. See, because a lot of Cowboy fans are not happy about this move. Like you said, 5-year, $30 million deal to Garrett.
Yeah, you know why that is, though, Sean. That's because idiots out there, they think that you can't create anything. Everybody they always want to get something that's proven. That's why change scares a majority of people. And he's not a name like Bill Cowher. He's not a Jim Harbaugh. He's not the name that they can hang their hat on and say, oh, we're the Cowboys. We went out and got the best because we're the best. No, he's a guy that was a backup quarterback. He was a coordinator. He worked his way up to the position, and he has done something that no other Cowboys coach has been able to do since Jimmy Johnson. Win rushing titles and give us a balanced attack. So here we are. Let's pay the man and move forward. We need other things.
Rex Ryan, he's the new head coach of the Buffalo Bills. They celebrated and congratulated him on that by giving him a pizza.
Yeah.
Seems fitting. They know who they selected.
Yeah, he lost all that weight, and now people are going to be throwing wings and pizza in his face. Good luck keeping that off up there in Buffalo. And we've seen that offering tray that they sent out to the Lions after letting them use that stadium. I couldn't turn that down. I don't care how much money you paid me. All those hot wings and pizza, lucky guy. But what's going on in the NFL with all these coaching changes, Sean, I believe just beware. Next year, we are not going to know anything going into this next season because you look at guys like a Rex Ryan, he's got the pieces now. What the Jets were a horrible franchise, and you were just saying something before we were coming on the air. You think the Jets pegged a new coach?
Yeah, just saw this. They got defensive coordinator of the Arizona Cardinals, Todd Bowles, to be the coach in New York now.
Todd Bowles?
And you know what's funny? And I think I said this on a prior episode. There are so many coaching vacancies this year that I knew we would get a non-household name at one of these positions. And this is a big-time gig in New York.
Yeah, it is. He's very respected in the league. I remember seeing a piece where he's one of the highest paid coordinators. So you have to look at this like, what are you doing, New York? This is the same franchise that brought in Tim Tebow and Michael Vick at the end of his career. They just got rid of a guy that I know knows defense, right? Ryan, isn't that what he does?
Yep.
And they're bringing in another defensive mind. What is going on in there? It makes me believe that it wasn't Rex Ryan and his performance. It was something about Rex Ryan. It was his system, either the way he wanted to control his picks or what was going on in the offseason. There's something else behind the scenes that we don't know because you go out and you hired the same person.
Well, Rex Ryan, this is interesting. I saw this article from New York Daily News from Manish Mehta, who said that Rex Ryan's decision to pick the Bills was actually his third choice, Atlanta being number one. But the problem was that they dragged their feet too long in getting him back in there for a second interview for the Falcons. That's where he wanted to go.
He probably ranked it with quarterbacks, I would imagine. If I'm Rex Ryan, golly, what has plagued him his entire tenure with the Jets? Quarterback issues. And he's kind of right back into that same situation. He doesn't really know who his guy is, but he has more pieces to the puzzle.
Right.
So, this is the situation that Rex Ryan's good at. Whenever he has that team where he can get a good running game established, kind of dink and dunk with the passing game, play great defense, he can win 8-9 ball games and be playoff eligible, wild card eligible. But I know he wanted Atlanta because he wanted Ryan. He wanted to not worry about his offense.
Kind of unfortunate if you are a fan of the Falcons and you wanted Ryan, because part of the delay was that Arthur Blank's mother passed away. I believe it was his mother. So he was obviously, not taking care of football business for a few days, and I think that was part of it too. So
yeah, that definitely business. Sometimes things like that get in the way, and you have to just step back and wonder what could have been. Because Rex Ryan with the Atlanta Falcons and what they have, we talked about that last week. That could have been a bad news for the NFC.
Was it his mother? How could Arthur Blank's mother still be alive?
Like a lot of people, my father-in-law's mother is still alive, and he's in his 60s. She's in her 90s.
Wow. Jeez. Clean her air back then, I guess.
Yeah.
On the topic of coaching moves, John Fox gone out of Denver. And that just makes this whole Peyton Manning question, I don't know. I think Peyton's probably going to retire. What do you think he's going to come back?
No, he's coming back.
You think so?
Yeah. And this is why my reasoning's probably going to sound crazy, and I'm always looking for a conspiracy. I believe after what we just watched with the Derek Jeter farewell tour, that retirement of primetime athletes from here on out for the rest of our life, it could be compared to the decision with LeBron James. It's going to be something that's going to be marketed and it's going to be like a gimmick. We're not quite going to take it all in because we're going to be like, they're just trying to sell Papa John's pizzas, Vizio TVs, and Buicks to us.
Yeah.
It's probably almost laughable when you look at it. If you actually had the piece of paper in front of you, they probably say things like this, Sean. Upon, closing in on your retirement or at the end of our, contractual agreement together, if you forgo this without letting us know of your retirement, you'll forfeit money. I guarantee it's something along those lines. But if you play out the stretch, and there's probably like injury in there that's, if you get injured and you have to retire, yeah, you can get out of it. But I guarantee Peyton Manning's farewell tour, it will be like the Rolling Stones saying goodbye. This guy, every stadium he goes in, they're going to be like, well, in this stadium, Peyton Manning lost his first tooth. It'll be just so stupid.
It's gonna be a whole year of Peyton Manning making that stupid aw shucks facial expression that he does as he gets honored at every stadium. But what's interesting to me, like why I think that we're not going to see Peyton Manning coming back for the Broncos, is when you get a new coach in there, are they going to bring their own offensive coordinator? Because do you really think Peyton Manning wants to learn a new offensive system at this point in his career?
Well, see, here's the issue with that. That's why I think Gary Kubiak, offensive coordinator of the Ravens, is the next coach. He's Elway's buddy, longtime Bronco, Denver native, raises kids out there. He wants him back. And I don't think he has to make a lot of adjustments. What he's looking for is that coach that did a whole lot with a little. And Fox may have did that back in the day with Carolina and DeLome and those teams that he took to the playoffs and eventually the Super Bowl. But what Kubiak did with the Texans those years and building that franchise and winning games and making them respectable before they finally parted ways, that was like brain surgery. I mean, you cannot name those players there during those years besides the premier ones.
Sure.
He didn't have a lot to work with. You put him in that situation there, Gary Kubiak, like I said, longtime friend of John Elway, he gets to finally say, I've won my Super Bowl. I think one more year, that's what we're going to get, one more year. And then Kubiak will get to take the team in his true direction after Manning does his Gatorade farewell tour.
And speaking of John Fox, I'm seeing that the Bears are reaching out to him, that he's the front runner to land that coaching position. So
it's just another coach that, proves my point.
The musical chairs.
Don't let all these guys get out there because there are teams that are just right there on that cusp. They're like, hey, we go. Everybody's seen what the Cowboys did. And everybody knows that for the past 4 seasons, we have called them a dumpster fire, 8-8, nothing changes.
Sure have.
So why can't the Bears do it? Why can't every team in the league do exactly what they did? Who did it the year before your team? Chiefs. You guys started off on an 8-0 tear. Mm-hmm. So that's why they're making these moves. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to play some of these teams because these guys are going to land in the NFC.
Well, it's a sad time of the year, Bo. As we talked about in the opener, we only have 3 NFL games left, 12 quarters of football, and no, we're not counting the Pro Bowl. And then it's darkness.
Yeah.
And so we look ahead to the conference championships, Bo. In the divisional round, I did great. All told, all my picks in the playoffs, I'm 7-1. The one I got wrong was the Broncos game. And let me tell you, I didn't shed too many tears about that.
Yeah, I guarantee you were as happy as my neighbor, the Chiefs fan. You guys love watching them lose.
Yeah, it's almost, I mean, if you're a Chiefs fan, it's in your bones,
But the one time that I will say that I see Chiefs fans that I know pull back on Denver is when they're playing the Raiders. As you guys are kind of apprehensive to cheer for the Raiders to beat them. You guys are,
yeah, they're just such a hot mess that you feel kind of bad for them. I mean, yes, Chiefs fans do hate the Raiders, but it's, the Broncos are the stud athlete in the leather jacket, and the Raiders are the dork on the chess team that doesn't like you. There's just a lot more to hate with the Broncos.
Yeah, they get to wear orange. They have Frito pie pizza.
Well, I mean,
like orange is a power color next to red. It's pretty cool. But red's always going to be the most dominant power color. Nothing beats
Get
Chiefs,
out of here with that orange
Nebraska, and all that. And then they got legal weed and Frito Pie Papa John's pizza.
Yeah. I'm surprised that, I guess it has more to do with the NFL statutes. I'm just surprised Denver and the Seahawks don't get more trade requests because of the legal weed. I mean, we know a lot of NFL players out there love the cron.
Them guys just fly out there.
That's true. Yeah.
They have residents in states like that. Their grow house.
So let's take a look at these games this weekend. The first of which, Packers at Seattle. Of these two matchups, I'm like 99.999999% sure on this one.
What's that?
Seahawks are gonna kill them.
Yeah.
I think the spread, it opened at like 7. I think it might be 7.5 by now. Take that all day long. It's such a nightmare of a matchup for the Packers.
Marshawn Lynch has that physicality that I kind of wish DeMarco Murray had, even though he's a great running back. Any team would love to have a DeMarco Murray. I love having him. But sometimes you're just like, DeMarco, run that linebacker over. Well, that's Action Boss. And Action Boss, he's not going to fumble that ball when he has nothing between him but the goalpost and nobody.
And he's thankful.
Yeah. Oh, the
Very
Action
thankful.
Boss.
Yeah.
Very thankful.
So do you see that game going any other way?
No.
It seems like an absolute no-brainer.
No, and you can obviously understand why I want to see a just straight thrashing of Green Bay, because that game.
No, why is that, Bo?
Dallas and Seattle would have been such a bet. It would have been one for the ages.
And let me just go on then to say I don't see any of these teams beating Seattle. I think that's going to be your Super Bowl champion. I think that they're going to repeat. But on to the second game, Colts at New England. How do you feel about this one?
Well, this is where we're going to disagree. I think of that draft class that is RG3, Andrew Luck, and Russell Wilson, right? And that was the three that came in together. You're going to see Luck get his, and it just feels weird. This year feels weird.
You hated the Colts.
I know. I hated them, and I didn't expect them to win that game against Denver, but they showed me something. Whenever they have an opportunity to step on your throat, they step. Yeah. And they step hard. So
by the way,
watch out.
Did you see Sam Pagano going to town on that cigar on the sidelines?
Dude.
I thought he was going to take a bite out of the damn thing and eat it.
You remember, as we discussed earlier,
was he making
on the show,
love to that cigar?
I was being drawn on. I was passed out. I was nursing.
Oh, yeah, you didn't see that.
I may remember the first quarter just a little bit.
Oh, it was disturbing.
Oh, what a day.
Don't eat tobacco, folks. But no, I do disagree with you there. I think the Patriots are going to win this game, and I think it comes down more to coaching than anything else. We saw the brilliance of the Patriots and their trickeration against the Ravens. Ravens just got out-coached, I think.
Luck's not making that throw down the sideline, though, like Flacco was.
No.
That's one thing that they kept baiting Flacco in. Hey, we're going to leave a little room on the sideline, and you're going to throw the ball, and one of these guys we give $30 million a year is going to come swooping in and take it.
That was really strange.
Yeah.
Like, why? He had another down. He had plenty of time.
Flacco have gambling debt we don't know about? When you get $120 million, that wasn't enough. Had to get some more. Golly, Flacco. You had that game, and you gave it away. Like Belichick, I don't know if he's genius or if he's just lucky. Because some of the things he does, it's like, yeah, every coach, I don't care if you coach Pee-wee football, you draw stuff up, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen. Belichick stuff happens. They're still talking about the trick play where he lined up the eligible receiver with Brady and all that. And it's just, you try and do stuff like that. We try and do stuff as a coaching staff at high school level. Yeah, it'll work one time, but then there's a ref that's going to get you for a legal formation. But Belichick executes these things, and he knows when to do them and how to set them up.
And after the game, during his press conference, like you couldn't tell if he had won or lost the game. He was so deadpan, so vintage Belichick.
Yeah.
And he just won a huge playoff game. I mean, does the guy get excited about anything?
I think if he gets this next Super Bowl, he'll be very excited because.
Do you think he'll just stop caring? Like if he does get another ring or two, do you think?
No. This next one, whenever he does or if he ever gets it, it will change him and his perspective on this. You may see a different side of Belichick because he's had to work for this one. This has been hard. They haven't been for a long time. It's been a while.
See, I hope that, if he does get another ring or two, his personality just totally changes, turns into like a practical joker. He's running out there on the field giving Rex Ryan a wedgie. That'd be awesome.
Well, apparently he is like that to a certain, like the people that know him say he is a great guy. They love sitting with him, having lunch with him, going out. And I'm like, he's just one of those people. He could be like Marshawn. Maybe Marshawn Lynch have the same anxiety type disorders where they don't talk to people. Like they shut down when the cameras and lights come on. But behind closed doors, they're both action boss.
That was my favorite part of the Marshawn Lynch presser, is at the beginning he was like, really? Y'all want to try this again?
Yeah.
Really?
Well,
hilarious. Okay, so we both got the Seahawks. You got the Colts. I got the Patriots. Is that right? Mm-hmm. All right, we shall see. Well, we'd like to thank our buddy Clem from the Clem Report. Follow him at The Clem Report and the website, theclemreport.com. Till next week, I'm Sean O'Donnell, along with my co-host, Bo Greer, reminding you, tip your pizza man.
see you next week.